Hi, welcome. This is Professor Patrick Lichty at Zayed University, and this is our game design, um, animation design 475. And what we're doing right now is, since we're under the COVID situation, we normally have been doing a Unreal-based game platform, but we are not doing that this time. We are doing a board game, a Japanese style um, kind of text character based game, and then the third thing we're doing is a side shooter, kind of in the style of like Galaxian or Zaxxon or something like that. So our first assignment has been the board game, and really all the board games have been around for thousands of years, and it's really the fundamental um, aspect of learning game design. Um, so this is actually the second of the lectures. And what I wanted to do is that I wanted to show a couple case studies of famous board games, two American, one Indian, and talk about some of the assignments we were doing in class. So the first one is The Game of Life by Milton Bradley. I think this is Milton Bradley's first game, created in 1860, called The Checkered Game of Life, and it was Milton Bradley was actually a printer, lithographer, and he did 45,000 copies by the end of the first year, and it had kind of a moral story to it, like S.B. Ives' Mansion of Happiness. In other words, this was Milton Bradley's idea of how to live a good life. So, in general, the first version of this had a modified checkerboard, and the idea was to land on the good spaces that get 100 points, or and you just basically went up the board. You could get to happy old age and all these sorts of things. But one thing that's interesting is that in the mid 1800s in the United States, the use of dice was considered morally questionable. Because people associated them with gambling. So what happened was that Milton Bradley had you get the random number using a top called a teetotum. It was basically a six-sided top, almost like a dreidel, but 6 sides. And now, with the modern version, you can kind of see up here that it's like a wheel of fortune, which is kind of an interesting metaphor, right? So, I have a PowerPoint, and this has a link to a YouTube, but I don't use it in the video version. So here's the classic game, Snakes and Ladders, and it was basically it's an old Indian board game called Moksha Patam, and where you've got 2 or more players, and it's really just your basic race game where you go up along through these boxes, and according to the numbers on random dice rolls. And so what happens? What's with the ladder? What's with the snake? It's basically a virtue or a vice. So you're going up, you fall down the snake, you climb up the ladder. And in general, it's a very mathematically rigorous, just straight up chance based dice race game. And It's been historically popular with young children, and it's been a good pastime. So the old version, was very rooted in morality lessons, like the player's progression up the board represented a life in which um, which was complicated by virtues and vices, the ladders and the snakes. So, but you can see here that yep, Milton Bradley. Milton Bradley bought it, 1943, and they redid it to be more culturally in line with the United States, and it's been popular as a game for forever. So, but it's really actually complex. So the thing is because of the fact that what it is that it has a lot of parameters that are set, and and things vary only in very certain ways. So the thing is that you can go from, the odds from going any one square to any other one are completely fixed, and it doesn't depend on, each game's different. So let's just say the Milton Bradley version of Chutes and Ladders has 100 squares, 19 chutes and ladders, and a player will need an average of 39.2 moves to go from the starting point, which is off the board, to square 100. And two-player game is 47.76 moves with a 50.9% chance of winning for the first player. Crazy. I'm going to skip the ad. Candyland. So this is a game with a really interesting history. It's created in 1948 by Eleanor Abbott, who was recovering from polio in San Diego, California. She tested it on the kids in her ward, and they liked it well enough that they suggested that she go to Milton Bradley and offer licensing to it. And Milton Bradley did like it. And the next year, what happens? They used it as a fill-in for some of their school supplies line, and really it became so incredibly popular that it surpassed their previous top seller called Uncle Wiggily, which I used to play as a kid, and it really put them into the point where their game company was as big now as their main competitor called Parker Brothers. And but consider this, is that what this is again kind of a morality game, that these kids are going through Candyland and getting rid of their crutches and kind of overcoming polio. And polio sucks. So I'm just going to say is that in 2020, we largely don't have it because of vaccination. Sorry. But the polio virus left, many people, children, etc., crippled, left in wheelchairs, and as this child did, was in a what they call an iron lung, and some people were in them for all their lives because polio created this profound muscle weakness. So the thing is saying that if you ever have a kid, please vaccinate them for polio. It's a classic ad. You can find that on YouTube. So here's, for our class, here are some of the important dates. Basically, we've been making this board game in about 5 weeks. As you can see here, we're talking about dates, but after this particular class, it isn't going to matter that much. It's about 5 weeks. So I asked the class to do a case study within 1 week, and this is the format that I asked it be put in as a PDF. I also have a worksheet that's in our teaching materials, and that is to be done at the end of that week, and that's the format for that. So, and then within a week, I have another worksheet for characters, board ideas, and so on, and that's due in a week. We get together a week later, take a look at the designs, get some ideas, and then the submission is September 27th as an Adobe Illustrator or Acrobat file. So at this point, this particular lecture was in the middle of the case study section. So that's just merely the format of the file. But what I wanted was one board game and just describe or analyze it with 100 words. Give me an image of it. What I wanted to know is, I said, what's the idea of the game? What characters? What are the mechanics of the game? And the thing is that since we were designing our own board game, saying, guess what? What are the principles can you do that allow you to create your own board game using the structure of another? So that's the end of this lecture. Thanks so much for being with me, and we will see you in the next lecture, number 3.